Erev Tov, Rabbatai. Two of the things that on Shabbat that we're not allowed to do is to write on Shabbat. We're not allowed to write. And also to erase something which is written. This is also memachek. Right? To erase something, also not allowed on Shabbat. These are two of the melachot that we have on Shabbat, 39 melachot. So it says in the Shulchan Aruch something interesting, that let's say you have a notebook, or you have a klaf, where you're writing a Sefer Torah, or you're writing over there mezuzah, and it doesn't have any writing there. There's no writing there, but it has some ink, just blotted ink there, right? Something like that. Or let's say fell on it some shava, shava, wax, fell on the paper or on the parchment. If you erase that on Shabbat, right, you take a knife or a razor, and erase that, it's also called erasing, on Shabbat. Not allowed to do that. Asur, because even though there's nothing written there, but because you have some shava, you have some wax, or you have some ink there, also to erase that is asur. It's forbidden to do that. So the person has to know, right, these things. You should know, by the way, something interesting. There were some synagogues, some shuls, on Shabbat, what they used to do, when they did aliyot on Shabbat, they're selling the aliyot, right? So what happens is like this, they want to know who bought the aliyot. They forget, after a long time, they forget. And then they don't know who to go to, who bought the aliyah? I don't know. Who should I ask to give the money? I don't know I forgot. So that's why, in the old days, what they used to do, some shuls, some synagogues, they used to have a goy there, and the goy would write down, the aliyah, who bought it and how much it was. Like this, So the question is, are you allowed to do this, to tell the goy to write down the aliyot? I saw, by the way, one of the shuls over here also, they were doing this, They had a goy, some, Ishmaeli, and he was writing down, so the truth is that Maran, Rbbi, my rabbi, he writes about this in his writings. And he says that it's not good to do this, this kind of thing. To have a goy to write it. You know why? Because since writing is from prohibition from the Torah, so to tell a goy to do it, you're not allowed to tell a goy to do something which is from the Torah. Something which is from the rabbis, you can tell a goy to do. Rabbinical. Like, to bring you the elevator, to press the button, you tell the goy, can you bring me the elevator? I gotta go up, I'm too old, I can't climb 10 stories, So you tell the goy, press the button for me. You can do that, right? It's because the ma'alit, the elevator is not from the Torah. It's only prohibition from the rabbis. So you can tell a goy to press the button for you, no problem. But here the writing, it's from the Torah. So therefore, you're not allowed to tell the goy, to write for you something on Shabbat. Not allowed. So then these shuls that they did this, the synagogues, how do they do it if it's not allowed? How do they have this minhag like this? So the answer is that there are some poskim who say, some rishonim, that writing, scribble, the handwriting that we do, like regular handwriting, is not from the Torah. It's only derabanan. It's only rabbinical. So what's writing from the Torah? When you're writing, like a Sefer Torah, it's professional, like a sofer, calligraphy, like this, right? When you write like that, that's from the Torah. But just to write scribble, scribble like we do, this is from derabanan, according to some poskim. So this is the reason why these synagogues, used to have this custom. But Maran, Rabbi used to say that not good to rely on this, because there are also other poskim who say that writing, even scribble, is a prohibition from the Torah. So he said, therefore, whoever had this minhag before from the old days, they can continue maybe, because they have what to rely on. But now, for somebody to start a new minhag like this, to tell a goy to write down the aliyot, right, you shouldn't do that to start a new one, because after all, it could be that's from the Torah. You cannot tell the goy to do it. So therefore, right, the proper thing to do is not to start like this, a minhag like this. Not a good idea. One more thing I want to tell you. There was, I was in Israel about 2 months ago, and I stayed there at a hotel there, and they had like Shabbat Chatan, many people came from all over Eretz Israel to Yerushalayim, Shabbat Chatan. So there was this Chacham over there, one Chacham. He is the son-in-law, the Chatan of Maran, Rbbi Danielov. His name is Rabbi Abudbul, So he has a radio show in Israel, and he says halachot on the radio, Yom Shishi, before Shabbat, so everybody can hear some halachot. It's good, nice, nice radio program. In Israel, they have these kinds of things, On the radio, you hear Torah, Divrei Torah, it's nice, beautiful, right? Here we don't have so much like things like this. Maybe we have a little bit, but not so much. But anyway, right, the point is, that he said at the hotel, I heard him, he said, Drasha, Leil Shabbat, he said, what about if wax falls, right, on your table? Let's say you had Shabbat candles, right, or, something like that, right, and the wax dripped out, fell on your table. So the question is now, are you allowed to remove the wax, with a knife or your finger, with your nail, like this, remove the wax?
I was just wanted to ask if you can peel it out.
Right, that's it. That's the question. Yeah, that's exactly the question. This is the question that they asked this rabbi, So he said that you're not allowed to do this, on Shabbat, to take off the wax from the table. So why is this? He brings one posek, his name is Shvut Yaakov. Shvut Yaakov, about 300 years ago, Ashkenazi rabbi, big chacham, big posek. So he says that he has Shuvot over there, and he writes over there that if the wax, fell on a Sefer Torah, let's say, right? So the problem is, sometimes the wax falls on the Sefer Torah and you can't read it. It erases the writing, covers it. So you can't read it. So if you can't read it, it's pasul, because you can't read a part of the Sefer Torah, it's pasul. So therefore, it's a mitzvah, if you want to read this Torah on Shabbat, you got to take off this wax, So the question is, are you allowed to remove the wax from the Sefer Torah and to write to read the Sefer Torah like that? So he says over there that there's a prohibition of memareach. What is memareach? That means that you're taking like a surface, right? Whatever it is, a shulchan, a table, or a Sefer Torah, and you're spreading something on it, like memareach, like the spreading. Like you spread butter on the bread, like this, right? Memareach. Do like this, right? You spread it. This is also one of the melachot of Shabbat. Memareach, not allowed. So he says, what happens is that, he says in the Shvut Yaakov, that if you want to take off the wax from a Sefer Torah, what you have to do is with a shinui, in a different way. So he says, you cannot do straight, with your finger like this, because you're memareach, you're spreading the wax over the klaf. So he says, what you can do is, take like the Sefer Torah, like, from behind, and like go like this, fold it, and it'll come off from the back. So it's shinui. It's a different way, not the normal way. So you can do like this, shinui. You can do, he says, like that. So he learns from there, this is Rabbi Budbul, he learns from there that also from a table, you're not allowed to do it in the normal way, with your finger or with a knife, not allowed to do. Why? Because it's also a prohibition of memareach. The truth is, if you ever notice, by the way, I'll tell you something interesting. If you ever notice, when the wax falls on a table, right, and it gets dry, it's hard, very hard. You ever notice the wax in our times is hard? Like really hard. So what does that mean? If you take like a knife, right, or your finger, go like this, it's not going to spread. It's going to just break, it just breaks up. That's what happens, It doesn't really spread over like butter, like this, like cream cheese. It doesn't spread like that. It's too hard to spread. So it breaks, So this is the reason why I say that this rabbi, he's not correct what he's saying. Why? Because the truth is, when you remove the wax from the table, it's not spreading over the table, right? Yeah, right. But we're talking about dry wax, You're right. If it's wet, you're right, for sure. There's no question. There's going to be a problem there. But here's the thing, right? There's also another thing which I'm going to tell you why it's allowed to do this. The reason is because even if you say, right, that it's, let's say the wax is soft, like in the old days, they used to have wax which was soft. It was different than the wax we have today. But anyway, right, if you have something soft, let's say, and it's going to be mitmareach, spreading like this, the thing is that you're not mitkaven to this, this is not your intention, to spread. You want to clean the table. That's what you want to do. You don't want to spread it, so since it's mitkaven, that's not your intention, and also lo nichale, right? Even if you say it's going to happen for sure, but you don't want that, right? You want to remove it, you don't want to spread it. That's the whole thing, right? So therefore, there's no prohibition here of memareach. So therefore, right, the rule is bemet that if wax, fell on a table and it dried already, right, in the morning, after Shabbat, whatever, in the morning Shabbat, you're allowed to take it off with a knife or with your finger. There's no problem because it's not memareach. You're just cleaning the table. It's nikui. That's what it's all about. Baruch Adonai le'olam amen amen. Rbbi Hanania b'kashomer rasa kadosh baruch hu lo zikr Yisrael leficha chilba lahem Torah mitzvot she'en Adonai chafetz למען סקרו יגדיל תורה וידיר.